home building and remodeling show. Let's go. Welcome everybody to the home building and remodeling show. My name is Chris Kerby and I'll be your host. I am the owner of 3 construction companies on the Alabama Gulf Coast. The show is about residential construction. We're going to cover topics of home building and remodeling. Are you thinking of doing a remodel or building a home? Are you a contractor looking to improve your knowledge base or grow your business? Have you ever done a remodel project or built a home? There were so many things you wish you knew or that you could have done differently during the process. Then this show is for you. We break down the process of building and remodeling and how to have the best results during your project. Whether you're a DIYer looking for tips, someone looking to hire a contractor to do a project, or a contractor looking to expand your knowledge base or your business. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Stay tuned. We kick off the show with my thoughts on home building and remodeling. I'll share best practices and talk about some of our experiences in business and out in the field. These shared thoughts and lessons learned are meant to help you on your very own journey. Let's go. So our month of May, we've been focusing on tile, and a lot of the intro to our podcast is just me generally giving some business tips and some advice to the contractors out there. And I wanted to continue that theme as we continue to hit on tile trends with our interior designers. And also we're talking about tile installation and best practices. And one of the biggest things that, I wanted to hit on was quality. And what we've been looking at is, we don't always want to win every job. It's just not feasible. And I feel like if you are winning every job, you're probably not charging enough. And I know that's easy to say, and you may have heard that a lot, but it's the truth. And honestly, if you start to negotiate your price down too much, you're going to lose money. And you may win the job, but you're losing money. And honestly, you don't want to be known for being the cheapest contractor as you're going through and starting your journey, because a lot of what we talk to are people who are just beginning their careers in the contracting industry. My best advice for you is just to make sure that you have integrity, that you're honest. Accountability is something that lacks in our industry. And I say accountability because even in our company, we get it wrong. We set deadlines, we talk about process, we try our best to make sure that things flow smoothly. We have meetings. And so I don't want you to get it twisted that I have all the answers, because I just do not. And, I've been reading a lot of leadership books lately, and one in particular, John Maxwell, where, he just talks about how he would have made a lot of dumb decisions had it not been for the people he surrounded himself with. And that's the way I feel. I have a lot of experts that work for me that are experts and craftsmen and women in their field. I don't have all the answers. However, I lean on them heavily. And as a brand new tile contractor, if you don't have that, seek that. Find a mentor. In our industry, mentorship is lacking. And I feel like the best advice I can give you as a brand new contractor is to find somebody to emulate, find somebody that you can talk to, that can guide you. As you break away, you have to think of the reason that you wanted to start your own company. Was it because you felt like you were underappreciated? Was it because you felt like you weren't getting paid enough? Did you feel like they weren't listening to you? Or do you just sincerely think you've outgrown the company and that you wanted to start your own business because you would make more or have more freedom? Or, one of those things is usually why people start their own company. And I'll be honest with you, the business side, I feel, is why most contractors fail. It's not because they can't do the work. You can do the work. You were the number one, or you were somebody's right hand, and you can do the work. It's the management. It's managing the time, finding the work, also it's one of those situations where you think it's easy until you do it. And then you walk a mile in the shoes of a business owner and you understand, especially a small business owner just starting out, just how hard it is. And sometimes it's easier to just be able to do the work and go home at night with a workload that's accomplished than it is to run everything else. It doesn't, all the leads that come in and keeping work on the books is hard, especially when you just starting out and you're not well established as your own company. So one of the biggest things I can say to all the tile contractors and contractors in general just starting out is to find a mentor. And that's something that I didn't have. Yeah, I had people with technical skill, but I just didn't have a mentor that reached out and said, hey, let me guide you through XYZ in business, because I'm telling you right now, the business side of things is where most people fail. Cash flow, financials, work, lead generation. There are so many things to do when you run a small business, especially if you're going to do it right. Paying taxes, paying Uncle Sam, making sure that you find quality help, these things, retaining that person, making sure they're going to show up, making sure they don't embarrass you on the job site, doing the actual work itself, and then finding time to sit down and not only go and do an estimate, but when are you going to write the estimate? And now we move into Shop Talk. It's the portion of the show where I bring in a co-host and we cover trending topics in home building and remodeling. Hope you enjoy. Let's go.
Oh yeah, it makes that good. You spread it, and then within 3 or 4 minutes, it's locking up on you, and then you got issues when you're trying to clean it up.
Well, you can do it too thick, too thin, like too watery, different things like that.
Yeah,
it'll mess up.
You need them. So they sell the 1 gallon,
the smaller buckets
at Home Depot.
Yeah,
that has the measuring where you can measure.
Gotcha.
And do it correctly.
Yeah. So they'll tell you consistency, just like if you're cooking food, right? Those ingredients, how you mix them, and how you stir it up, all of that stuff matters.
Yeah, some of them want you to mix for a certain amount of time, let it rest, mix again, and then let it rest.
I noticed that when I was filming Justin he was doing that subway tile out there on the new construction. He was definitely following, I guess that all set has like a 10 minute setup time. And so that stuff does matter.
Right. Especially with the offset, because if you mix it to their
specifications,
it gets real fluffy and it makes it lighter, actually, and easier to work with.
I gotcha. Okay. So it's actually easier to follow the instructions.
Right.
It performs how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes if you don't do that part right, and we like to warranty our work, but that stuff matters in the warranty for them as well, for that Schluter stuff, right? Exactly. You have to use the offset, right? It's not negotiable. That's their product that they want you to use.
Yeah, because you got to turn in the SKUs from every product that you...
So you could actually void the warranty with something as simple as not following the instructions. Okay. All right. So the grout process is important.
Very important.
Yeah.
Because it's the final touch to it.
And I'll tell you I think another thing that we had to do on that same job where it kept glazing over and we kept having to clean. And if for all you contractors out there, you know what I'm talking about. We've had it happen a couple of times in the past, not recently, where it'll glaze over and you keep trying to clean it and it just keeps glazing. But, another thing we had to do down there was we actually had to go back in and do some grout touch-ups, right? Not just the touch-ups, but I think he actually went down there and used some grout paint to fix some areas because I don't know if it was because we had 2 different grout colors or...
It's probably mismix.
Yeah.
So one batch...
So again, that goes back... Okay, so what you're telling me is when you're grouting, you can actually have a lighter, darker mix. Is it 2 different people mixing it? Is it 2 different bags? How does that work?
So you'll have 2-part grouts where you get the grout mix with the grout color.
Yeah.
If you do not read the instructions and do it right, you'll have, say you're looking at like a regular gray, you'll have a light gray here, and down your grout line, you'll have like a charcoal gray because it's not mixed properly throughout.
So when you're doing a larger shower, how do you prevent that from happening, man? Because you're not going to use one mix all the way through, or are you?
Well, if you're going to be using the same brand product, same color, so as long as you mix it the same way, the correct way, you should be fine.
Okay. All right.
And then they make, they have products for hazing and stuff.
Well, okay, that goes back to some of the, let's talk about sealing these things, okay? Sealing the grout, right? Now, a lot of the grout these days, is it not have a built-in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because we get those questions all the time. Well, are you going to come back and seal it? Is it sealed? Blah, 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 right? So talk to me about that process.
So all the new stuff, the Mape and all that has a built-in sealer, but it doesn't hurt. If a customer wants to have it sealed, I mean, it's never a bad idea, especially like we have a local area here. I don't know if I should say the town Daphne. Well, they have water issues. So
gotcha.
If you're using a light color grout and that's with their city water, you get yellow. It just start yellowing and browning within a year. So
wait a minute. So you're telling me that the grout and the water, where the water comes from, can matter sometimes?
Yeah, if you got a water issue in your municipality, I mean,
sure,
you would like the extra protection,
right? Okay, all right, gotcha.
Because what's the lady's name? We did a water.
So you're saying that just after continuously taking showers with some rough water or something, it could make a difference,
right? So it wasn't even 6 months after her shower was done in Daphne. We went. She called me over there. And it was like real yellow.
Yeah,
right where the shower head
drips and
And so I got it cleaned up and then I sealed it. And she called back a few months later and said that she wasn't having any more issues.
Yeah,
but I mean, I guess it's due with how much chlorine or lime or whatever they're putting in your water is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Get too scientific.
Yeah. But I mean, that's good to know though, right. That probably hard water, soft water, different types of water, that stuff matters. So sealing definitely is an important part of the process. But most grouts,
they come with it now.
Okay, got it.
But
so you all know that.
Yeah.
Okay. What else when it comes to tile? What are some common issues that we run into after the fact? Okay, lippage. All right. That's really not after the fact. That's kind of during.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that where those leveling wedges and clips
come in?
Is there a time you don't use leveling wedges or clips?
I mean, so if you're trying to use tiles that already have a beveled edge and you're trying to just stack.
Yeah. It's not really
but it's
necessary.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But that's when you're going to have to pay attention to what you're doing and make sure everything.
Continuously check.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. But for the most part, especially for beginners, you need to be using leveling wedges and clips.
Definitely.
Is there a right way to use those? Like, can you make a mistake with the wedges and clips?
I'm sure, yeah. So they make the pliers to use.
Snip them, right?
To install them. So,
I got you. Yeah.
But
so you're pushing.
And the direction that you do them, that way you're not pulling away from, pulling.
So do you want to make sure that when you're doing using that system, that all your wedges are put in the same manner, or does that matter?
Yes.
Like if you put one up, put one down, put one sideways. I mean, does that make a difference?
Yes. So it's been so long since I've done it. So if you're laying and you're working your way up, if you put your clip here and then you're starting to push this wedge up, it will push that tile up.
I gotcha.
And make your grout line off. And then you'll try to slide it back down and then you get thin set all through and it's just not a tight.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? You can over push them and they'll break.
Yeah. So what about getting those things out? A lot of people have questions about that too. So like when you're doing a floor or something like that, how do you get those, how do you get the clips out? So you're popping out the wedges. How do you get them clips out? How are you supposed to get those clips out?
I've never been taught how to get them out.
Okay. So usually you just
kick them
on the floor.
Or
hit
them.
Yeah. So it's okay for those.
Mallet and hit them.
It's okay to have. I mean, they're made to wear.
There's got to be some type of cutter, but I don't know. It's just they're a pain in the butt too when you break them off, and
you've got a little tiny piece that pokes up.
They just are a little too short to where you can get.
Yeah.
So then that's when a helper comes in with a razor knife. Have them go and cut them down.
Yep.
Because there's nothing worse than having, so like the brand we use, the 1/8" ones are red.
Yeah.
And if you don't cut that thing down properly after you grout, you'll see little red.
You'll see it poke up
all through.
And we've had that. How do you know if you've got? Okay, so that was the wedges and clips, and you get them out and make sure that you don't leave too much to where when you grout, you can't grout right. How do you make sure that you've put enough grout in there? We've had issues, or there's been issues where you'll start getting gaps, right?
Right, you'll end up in little holes.
Yep, little holes. Okay. So what does that mean, though? If you see
you're just not smashing it in there properly.
Is that where that float
comes in? That's somebody just going really...
They're kind of smoothing it out. But what is that? Aren't you supposed to edge it in with that float? Or how do you do that? How do you make sure it gets...
So you want to trowel it over, like you use a trowel on the edge.
Yeah.
And get it over. And then I'd like to smash it in. You know what I mean?
So you'll kind of wedge it in. You'll push it in a little bit to make sure that it's... Okay.
Because honestly... that grout's your first defense.
For what?
Now we're going to move into the portion of the show where we talk interior design. We're going to bring in an interior designer and we're going to talk trending design and products. Hope you enjoy. Let's go.
Everything all at the same time. And again, too, having a designer who's going to make sure they're ordering everything from the same distribution center.
Sure.
I'm not going to pull something from Miami and then something from North Carolina. I'm going to make sure it's coming from the same place.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. And number 5.
Pattern tile and tile patterns.
Okay.
The pattern tiles we're going to, where you were talking about where you take 4, put them together,
sure.
And it's one cohesive. So that's your pattern tiles.
Okay.
Those are becoming much more popular nowadays. They're being utilized not only for floors, but people are getting, again, more advantageous to where they're like, this is my home, I own it, I want to do what I want to do, and they're doing it on backslashes.
Gotcha.
And then we get to tile patterns where you're taking tiles, you're turning them into a chevron.
Gotcha.
Turning it into a basket weave instead of just that simple running board, half split or 3/4 split installation.
And sometimes, I've seen a simple effect that's dramatic is like we installed some gray glass subway tile in a kitchen. And instead of running it horizontally, they ran it vertically and it made a huge difference. Just that simple change right there. And I was like, I don't know if that's going to look good, but now I've seen it a couple times and just that simple change is a little different, but it made a huge impact in their overall kitchen.
It takes something simple, which you used to think of as a standard, to, oh, wow, now it's new and it's fresh.
Yeah, absolutely.
So outside from the pattern tiles and tile patterns, the other one I was going to get into is abstract shapes and pattern reliefs. One of the ones that we saw at market was a pattern relief where it looked like a palm frond had been pressed into the tile itself.
I gotcha. Okay. So now that right there is hard. Well, it's not hard. Again, it goes back to knowledge and knowing what you're doing. But those patterns in the tile or waves or any of that stuff, you have to get that right on for it to look right. And especially if they're meant to join, right? Yes. Join together at corners or whatever it is. If the pattern is supposed to be continuous, it's even harder with, what do you call that? When it does this? Pattern really. Yeah. Okay.
Talking about pattern relief.
Yes.
Yes. Or book match.
Book match.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, again, that comes down to your installer and also having the knowledge of how to place that. The other one was raised. So geometric.
Raised. Yeah.
Really, really popular. And one of the ones that I'm going to showcase later is the tile actually it creates almost a 3D form that comes off the tile itself.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about actually, where it's that raised pattern. And because sometimes those they want to meet and be continuous,
So if you don't cut it right or set it right or do a proper layout, yes, and it'll look off. Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so that was your 5. So number 1 was color.
Dopamine colors.
Dopamine colors. I love that. Number 2 was
handcrafted.
Number 3, terrazzo. Number 4,
sustainability.
And number 5,
Pattern.
okay, I got a bonus question.
Done.
Large format. Okay, is that in? Okay.
Oh, it's still in.
It's still in.
It is
and
still in.
When I say large, we have a piece out here. I don't know what size that is. What size that back tile?
The 24 by 68.
Is it 24 by 68?
Yeah.
Holy, it's huge. And you have to know those are, take special tools, the suction cups. We did a how-to on this, but those, again, you have to be super sensitive with installation. You have to know what material to use as far as your mortar and setting it and things like that. But also the breakage on those, it's easy to break those.
Yes.
Are those porcelain?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
All right. So
porcelain's denser, so generally you do want a porcelain.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So large format is still in.
Yeah.
It's still trending.
I do not see that going anywhere for quite some time. And if anything, it's just going to be the tiles are going to get bigger.
Thanks for joining us today. As always, we are grateful for our listeners and your continued support. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media via Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Get more info at our website, www.thehomebuildingshow.com. And as always, remember who we are, the Home Building and Remodeling Show.